Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Please remember to like and subscribe. Now today, we'll be looking at some CXC multiple choice questions that involve statistics. And the first question is a pretty straightforward one. And this says the score which occurs most frequently in a distribution is A, median. Now of course, the median is a score that is in the center. And bear in mind that the data has to either be arranged in ascending or descending order. The mean, of course, which is the arithmetic mean, is just the average of the data values. The range is the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. And the mode, of course, represents the value that occurs the most frequently occurring value. So the answer to this question here is actually D, which is the mode. For my second question, we are given a set of scores 10, 15, 4, 7, 8, 8, 1, and 4. And the question is, what is the median of the scores above? Now, if I'm going to find the median, as we had said initially, the data values must be in some order. So whether I'm going to go ascending or descending order. As we know, putting the data values in ascending order is much easier. So let us do that. So my first data value there is 1. My second data value is 4. Then 4. And of course, if you don't want to mix up the values as you write them, you could actually strike them out. So once we have 4, 4, we have 7. Then 2 8s, so 8, 8. Then we have 10, and then 15. It's imperative that you count off the data values to ensure that you actually have 8 values over here. So when you count them off, we have 8 values. Now, we want the median. If you notice, we have an even number of numbers, which means that there will be 2 numbers in the middle. All right. Now, there are several ways to do it. You can go ahead and just look at how many values you have. We have 8 values, so the 4th and the 5th value would actually be in the center, which in this case, the 4th and 5th values are 7 and 8 respectively. So to get the median, which we sometimes refer to as the middle quartile, we can call it Q2. It would be 7 plus 8 over 2. All right, and you don't have to actually manually work this out, because you know that if you average 7, 8, you're going to end up with 7.5. So the answer to my question here is C, which is 7.50. Good. And of course, there's a next way we can do it. If you have a lot of values, you have a formula that you can use to find the position of, so we can talk about position of Q2, or position of the median. Q2 is the median, or we call it the middle quartile. It is equal to n plus 1 over 2. Now, n is the number of data values that you have. So we have n plus 1 over 2. If you apply it to this scenario, there are 8 values. 8 plus 1 is 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. What that tells me is that the median is between the 4th and the 5th position. So I have to add the values in the 4th and the 5th position and divide it by 2. All right. For my next question, it says, in a class of 20 students, 12 are girls. What is the probability that a student selected at random is a boy? Now, probability, as we know it, is the likelihood or chance that an event will occur. Now, what I'm interested in here is selecting a boy. So the first thing I need to know is how many boys we have in the class. Now, overall, we know that there are 20 students, of which 12 are girls, which automatically means that there are 8 boys in the class. So this is going to be 8. And of course, probability is the event we're interested in over the amount of elements we have in the sample space. Or in other words, over the total amount of elements we have. In this particular class, we have 20 students. So it would be 8 boys out of the total, which is 20. Now, of course, there are times when you might have to break the question down to the simplest form. But as we can see with the options, that there is no need to break it down because 8 over 20 is an option. So my answer here is B. It could have been a scenario here where they would have broken down the answer. For my next question, it says, in a class of 20 students, 12 are girls. What is the probability that a student selected at random is a boy? Now, probability, as we know it, is the likelihood or chance that an event will occur. Now, what I'm interested in here is selecting a boy. So the first thing I need to know is how many boys we have in the class. Now, overall, we know that there are 20 students, of which 12 are girls, which automatically means that there are 8 boys in the class. So this is going to be 8. And of course, probability is the event we're interested in over the amount of elements we have in the sample space. Or in other words, over the total amount of elements we have. In this particular class, we have 20 students. So it would be 8 boys out of the total, which is 20. Now, of course, there are times when you might have to break the question down to the simplest form. But as we can see with the options, that there is no need to break it down because 8 over 20 is an option. So my answer here is B. It could have been a scenario here where they would have broken down the answer. Now let's just look at our next question. It says that if the mean of 2x, 3x, 4x, and 3x is 12, then the sum of the numbers is. Now, how do I go about working out this question? It starts off with a formula for the mean. We know that the mean x bar is equal to sum of x. And of course, normally when you have data written in this form over n, where n is the number of data values, what they have given us is the mean. So we know that x bar is actually equal to 12. We don't know what the sum of x is. That is what we want to find. But we know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 data values. Now, I don't have to literally find the sum of the values to work this question out. What I want is the sum of x, so I leave that as the variable. Now, how do I get the sum of x? Since we're dividing that by 4, we can simply multiply both sides by 4. So I'm going to end up with 48 equal the sum of x. So therefore, the sum of x is equal to 48. And that is exactly what we wanted. So my answer here is actually C. Now notice that we worked out the question without actually involving the 2x, the 3x, the 4x, and the 3x, because that is actually the sum of x. So the sum of x as a variable actually represents me adding up all of those 4 data values. In this question, we have a pie chart, and it says a pie chart shows the drinks students prefer. So we have milk, pineapple juice, orange juice, and chocolate. Now it says if 12 students prefer chocolate, how many students are in the survey? Now, whenever we think about pie chart, we think about angles. Angles tell us everything. Now the sum of the angles in this pie chart, of course, is 360 degrees. So if I'm interested in chocolate, I need to know what angle chocolate is. But as you can see, for milk and chocolate, we have one straight line there, which means that is 180 degrees. So if milk represents 120 degrees, then chocolate is 60 degrees. Now, there are several ways to do this. So we are saying that 60 degrees would actually represent 12 students. All we simply need to know is how many 60 degrees are inside of 360. So I would go ahead and I would divide 360 by 60. And of course, that would give me 6. So we know that there are 6 60s in 360 or in one revolution. Alright? Which means that there are 6 12s in that one revolution if we were to look at each angle being 60 degrees. Alright? And there are 6 of them. And 60 degrees represents 12. And there are 6 of them. So to get the amount of students in the survey, it would simply just be 6 times 12, which is equal to 72. Alright? So the answer is B. Now that is one way of looking at it. There are persons who might not be or might not feel comfortable with this working. You could have gone the ratio way. So we could have said 12 to 60. And we have x to 360. Alright. And of course this represents a bit more work. So when we go ahead, we cross multiply, we'd have x times 60 equal 12 times 360. I would actually have to expand this, but we simply just go ahead and divide both sides by 60. So you see it's actually the same thing. And we say 60 into 60 is 1, 60 into 360 is 6, and then 6 times 12 is 72. So once again we get 72. Alright, here we go again. The table below shows the frequency of scores obtained in a test. And inside of my table, we have scores and then we have students. Let us analyze the table before we get to the question. The scores that we got here are 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 11. All right, those are the scores that were obtained in the exam. Now, in the section that says students, it is telling us how many students got 2. So it means that 8 students got 2, 4 students got 3, 6 students got 5, 3 students got 6, 12 students got 8, and 2 students got 11 on this test. Now, the modal score is actually going to represent the score that most students got. Now, so we look in the section that says students, and we try to find out which score. So here we see the highest frequency there is 12, which tells us that 12 students got 8. All right, so 12 just tells us how many students. 12 of them got a score of 8, which means that the modal score has to be 8. So the answer is A. All right, the answer can be 12 because 12 is not a score. It just tells us how many students. The 12 is telling us there that there are 12 students who would have scored 8 on the examination. Here's our next question. The heights in centimeter of 10 students are 150, 152, 155, 153, 170, 160, 156, 165, 158, and 155. And notice that these heights are in centimeter. Now what I want is the range. Now, of course, from the previous question, we would have talked about the range, which we say is the highest data value minus the lowest data value. In other words, the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. So what I actually have to do here is to find the highest value and the lowest value. So as we can see, the highest value is 170 and the lowest value would be 150. So when I subtract those, 170 minus 150 is 20. So my range is 20 centimeters. My answer would actually be B.